Welcome to ViviTalks. I'm Vivienne Aerts. Join me in celebrating 100 talented female musicians from my last album, type of thing. Empowering female cacao farmers in Congo's Virunga State Park and restoring the rainforest. Delve into the musical journeys, creative processes, and unique perspectives of these talented women that were involved in the making of this album. Adi Meyerson is a New York-based bassist and composer. She was born in San Francisco, California, and at the age of 2, she relocated with her family to Jerusalem, Israel, where she grew up and remained until moving to New York in 2012. Adi studied at the New School for Jazz and Contemporary Music and later for her master's at Manhattan School of Music. There she studied with master musicians such as Ron Carter, Reggie Workman, Bob Cranshaw, Miguel Zenon, and many others. She's a current member of the Bria Skonberg Band, Reginald Chapman's Pressure Fit, and Svetlana and the New York Collective, and actively tours and performs with many others around the US and the world. As a band leader and composer, Meyerson has successfully made an impact on the New York City jazz scene and earned her title as an up-and-coming young talent. In September 2017, she recorded her debut album, Where We Stand. Meyerson has performed all over the US, Latin America, and Canada. She's a recipient of the NY-FA Women's Grant and is set to record and release a new album. Listen to our conversation as we talk about her creative projects, her chordless trio, and living in New York. Welcome, Adi Meyerson, to my official ViviTalks podcast. It's such an honor and a pleasure to have you here finally. And I'd love to learn a little bit more about your background, where you're from, what did you do? For my audience, give them the whole story.
Yeah,
If you
for sure. So I'm Adi. I play bass. I write music. Do a bunch of other things too, but I think I'm, most known for writing music and playing bass and all that. I grew up in Jerusalem, Israel, which is where I'm from, and I lived in Tel Aviv for a little bit, and then I moved to New York in 2012 to pursue music. I went to the New School. I wanted to study music and play music, and specifically jazz music. So New York was like always the place that was on my list to go to. And then I came to New York, and I've kind of been here ever since. Came to the New School, studied there. I did a program there. In exchange with a conservatory in Tel Aviv. I was actually the first class, if it makes sense. And then I kind of stuck around in the city and stayed, and eventually did my master's at Manhattan School of Music. And then just kind of been here doing my thing.
Great. So you studied with a couple of amazing jazz bass players and other musicians. How was it to work with, or you want to share anything about that?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the reason why I came to New York, right? Because I knew Reggie Workman was in New York, and I knew Ron Carter was in New York, and I knew Bob Cranshaw was in New York because he played with Sonny Rollins, and I hoped Sonny Rollins was in New York. I haven't got to meet Sonny yet, but I hope maybe one day I can. And all the amazing legends, and I was just like, well, this is where they are, so this is where I have to be. And I decided to come here, and it was great studying with them. I mean, I feel like each person is different in the way they teach and the way they share information, and having that wide of a perspective from just so many legends has been like such a blessing, and just being around them, spending time around them is truly what I cherish the most now, like going back and listening to like old recordings from the lessons and stuff, and each one of my teachers taught me something different about music or just about life in general, how to approach it. So I'm always grateful for that.
Can you give any examples of that?
Yeah, I mean, with Bob Cranshaw, I think the biggest thing was like how much joy he had for the music, and just
Mm.
he was always just happy to be there. Um, like if we're just talking conceptually, I'm not talking about specific like bass or like music things, like just concepts. So I always admired him for that, and just his feel and all that. And Reggie, I mean, just he talked about all these things that like I didn't understand at first, and then later on I kind of, the light bulb went off and I was like, oh yeah. Like he would talk about like intensity and creating tension and release and stuff in the music that like I didn't really get at the time. And now and later on I was like, oh yeah. And then with Ron, I think the biggest lesson I learned from Ron is just how to be disciplined. Because I didn't really have, I was pretty much self-taught before that. And
Mm-hmm.
I had some teachers, but it wasn't like conservatory teachers. It was like it was mostly me just being like, oh, can you teach me? Like, or just me teaching myself or all that. So just having a teacher that was a lot more like routine oriented was very helpful.
Yeah, structure. Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
structure and just, holding me accountable to structure, which is like not something that I thrive in general. So, but it was
Nice.
helpful.
Cool. And you describe, you compose and you play a lot of other people's music as well. But can you describe a little bit about your creative process? How did you get into writing? And then how do
Hmm.
you approach writing and composing?
How did I get into it? It's a good question.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I think I was like, I started writing music when I kind of started playing jazz seriously. I kind of was like, and when I was younger, I would write little songs, silly little songs. But yeah, I started writing. I think I wrote one of my first tunes when, like, before I moved to New York. I wrote some music. It wasn't good, but I wrote it and we played it. But listening back, I was like, it wasn't great, but it was a start. Um, so I think they kind of always went together for me. And then I think being in New York and seeing people like lead bands and write music and have their own thing. Um, I wrote a bunch of music for like my senior recital, my undergrad senior recital, which some of it like became my first album. Some of it, not
Mm-hmm.
all of it, but like, yeah, just realizing like, oh, I can do this as like a thing. This is, and then slowly kind of leaning into it and realizing like, oh, this is actually like a part of my identity as an artist, right? Like it is part of me. It's not just like a thing that I'm doing because people told me to do it. Like I actually feel like I have a voice as an artist through writing and
Mm.
not just through play. Um, and not everyone's like that, and that's fine. Everyone should do what works for them. But then like for me realizing like, oh, I think this has to be an integral part of like who I am.
Mm.
And the minute I kind of like leaned into that and um accepted that, I felt a lot better about things. So yeah, that's kind of I guess how I got into it. But my process, I guess it just changes. Um, Sometimes it just I just am like I'm gonna write something and I just do it to do it. Sometimes it just happens. I have an idea and I sit with it and it comes. And sometimes I have an idea for a project and I'm like, I need to write for the project. So then I'll
Mm-hmm.
be more intentional. Sometimes I don't know. And I try to just draw stuff from all over and concepts and constantly creating new concepts and new ways to like stretch my creativity. Like my last project, I Want to Sing My Heart Out was based roughly off of like Yayoi Kusama's like work and like life story and like her struggle with mental
Wow.
health and just like in general. So I took a lot of, inspiration from her work, but also just like very literal because I have synesthesia, so I like see colors and they translate into notes. So like I used that as a compositional tool. So I took the colors from her, looked at her paintings, and I was like, oh, here's like a specific color. Because her colors that she was using were kind of similar to the colors I was seeing, So then I would like look at the painting and be like, okay, these are the colors. This is my pitch material. And then I would like write or like use like rhythms. Yeah, I just tried to use a bunch of different elements to like create the music. And it definitely stretched a different part of my brain and like created some other creative ideas. And with this project I have coming up that I'm going to record soon, called Dark Matter, it's a chordless quartet project. So
Wow.
approaching that has been different because there's no piano. So it's like that's been a lot more like linear and melodic, like thinking of two voices or three
Hmm.
voices, just like voices and how they intersect and how they connect, and like actually kind of like simplifying things so
So
that
it
it
will
can
be
like,
bass with horns
yeah,
or
trumpet, sax, alto sax, and drums.
cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really excited. But like just trying to write music for that and find ways to like have it be simple, but also like intense and also leave space to like create something. And yeah, it's solidifying. It's coming together. And I'm like, oh yeah, this actually, and a lot of like free, there's a lot of like, there's not a lot of information on the paper. Um,
Mm,
for this one. Compared to my other one that was, some of it was like kind of through composed, like a
right.
lot going on. And here it's just like it's like four notes and just do whatever you want.
Cool.
But it's more about like the concepts and like um the intersection of like voices and stuff. And like I mean I write this in my little band description or whatnot, where I'm like it's kind of about what's not there.
Hmm.
Um it's like, yeah, it's what's there, but then like what do we create from like the space?
Yeah.
And I had this thought yesterday. I I was playing chordless. I was playing, it's just like on a random gig before the guitar player showed up. We were playing chordless, and I was like, and then I had a thought where I was like, one, playing cordless has made me a better improviser,
Hmm.
because again, it's about what's not there. It's like you need to hear what's not there.
Right.
Um, and then also like the silence, like the space. Like if I find myself in a place where I feel comfortable in silence and in space, that means I feel good. And I'm kind of just like, hmm, I never thought about that.
Right. You don't have to do something.
Exactly. And it's like, if I feel like I don't have to do something, I think we're good. And that kind of, I guess that kind of goes in life too, right?
Right. Yeah, yeah, let go. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my shower thought on the
Nice. I
bandstand
really appreciate that. Yeah, that's so true.
about composition and writing and I guess improvising. Because I mean, when you're improvising, you're kind of writing, especially with that kind of music, you're just kind of things like write themselves in real
Yeah.
life, and you can take from it, you can leave it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like I went a little off topic, but
Yeah. I mean, back in the
I'm
day,
glad.
I took singing lessons with saxophone player George Garzone, and he has this trio, right? The Fringe, which is also there's no chords.
Right.
It's and for I don't know how many years, 30 years, 40 years, they would every Monday they would play this trio.
Wow.
And yeah, it's insane what they create. Just with like the tension and the release and different
Yeah.
melodies and rhythms, and they just yeah, it's like they can read each other's mind by now, doing that for so many years.
Right.
But yeah, there's no chords. That's right.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
but there are chords sometimes.
Yes, of course.
Like that's
They
the
appear.
thing. Like they're not there. There's no chords, but
They're
then
the
sometimes there are
unwritten. Yeah.
chords. But like you can only hear like two parts of the chord at once, like
Yeah,
two
our mind
notes
makes
or
it
three
up. Yeah,
notes,
yeah.
and then it's like, but the chord is still there. So like then you have a little bit of freedom to like pick and choose what else is gonna be there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or sometimes it's just the top and the bottom. So it's like the bass note, the root note, or it doesn't even have to be the root, it's a bass note. So it's like an interval. So it's like a major third or a minor seven. And then the other person can choose what other note they want in there, and then you kind of have the space to like shift the chord and move it as long as you have those two important notes always going. Like,
Yeah.
because the identity of the song is like the bottom and the top. I don't know. That's how I've been thinking about it.
Cool.
But who knows? Who knows what I don't know
Oh, I'm
what I'm
already
doing.
excited to hear that.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I
Yeah.
hope yeah. I'm sure some people will like it. Some people might not.
Nice.
Which is
Yeah.
totally cool. I'm just excited to finally
Get back to the
record it
studio.
and
Yeah,
release
yeah,
it. Yeah,
yeah.
I can't wait to get back in the studio and have something to show for this
Yeah.
band, because we've kind of been playing shows on and off for the last couple of years. I've been trying to workshop this when
Who's
I
in
have the
it?
time. Um, right now it's Caroline Davis, and then trumpet. My friend from LA, Julian Knowles, is gonna come do the record.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then Jonathan Barber's gonna play drums, and then sometimes I
Nice.
also get JK Kim on drums, or and I
He's
have like
fun.
a West Coast version of this band for when I go out
Yes.
west, and it's always fun to bring in new people. Like, I think it's written for a specific type of player, but not an
Mm-hmm.
individual person. So it's like you do have to be a specific type of player to thrive in that setting, and for me to like for you to be able to like get out of the music what I want
Take
out of
that
the
freedom.
music.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you do have to be a specific type of player. Not everybody can play it, but that it does allow a lot of space for like every type of player that thrives in that setting to bring their own individual identity into it. And like that's kind of
Yes.
what I want. So it sounds different every time, kind of different every time I play it with a different band. And finding the right combination of people has always been really interesting. And yeah, and which
Yeah.
is cool, which also is like, I guess, gives me a little bit of professional freedom in that sense, because we're all busy and everyone's working, and
Yeah. It's hard to
everyone
find a
it's
band
hard
that
to
is
find a band.
always
And
available. Yeah.
I wish I could give people enough money
So
to
they,
always be available for me, but
yes.
like unfortunately that's not the case, because we all, the economy of what we do is not that. So it's nice to get a little different flavor thrown into there every time too, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing.
Nice.
But
I love to hear a little bit about performance. Um, when you go on stage, and how do you feel being on stage, and what's your vision on having a connection with the audience or with
mm,
the whatever you're offering? How does that?
I love the stage. I mean, I think I used to have stage fright, which is kind of crazy. I used to be like such a shy kid. I wasn't
Mm,
able to I was like one of those. I still have. I get a little nervous when I have to talk in front of a big group of people. But like when I was a kid, I would like cry because I had to go to the
oh,
bathroom, and I was like scared to like raise my hand because I didn't want to talk in
oh,
front of everybody. When I was a little kid, but then when I started like performing, like playing music in front of like,
mhm.
or just I remember doing like a performance once. Then I did gymnastics too, so that was helpful. When I was like did like a music performance, or I did a thing where I had to like I was in elementary school and I had to like I had to lip sync and pretend that I was like a singer and dance. I was like just it was really dumb. But but it was like it was for our Halloween basically. Which was Purim. So we just did a performance. And I was like, oh shit, wait a minute. Like this is fun. Pretending not to be me and like just performing is actually really fun. And then and then starting to play music and being like it kind of, opened up being on stage, and then I still started to feel really
Mm.
comfortable on stage. But yeah, I do really love it. I've been lucky to get to perform on a multitude of like stages, of kinds of stages, like big stages, small stages, different kinds of shows. And yeah, I love a good intimate, like I love a good intimate like jazz club vibe where I can see the audience, and they used to scare me to see their faces, but now I don't, I just in my own little thing anyway. In my own little world when I play bass, it's just me and the band. When I do my shows, and um I I don't know. I think I'm funny, but maybe people don't think I'm funny. When I talk to the band, I talk to the audience. I have a little bit of a dry humor to me. Um, Sometimes they laugh. Most of the time they laugh. But like just connecting and, sharing some personal stories, but and stuff. And yeah, I mean, I think it's important. I think there's ways to do it through the music.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sharing a little bit of your personality is something that people also connect to, I think.
Totally.
Especially when the music is instrumental. Um, like they feed off your energy
Yeah.
in that sense. I don't know. I mean, I guess there's different approaches. Some people love to talk, some people don't like to talk at all. Um, I I haven't I think like trying to figure out who your audience is and what you want the people to come along with you
Mm-hmm.
is kind of cool, and I've learned a lot about that from playing with with other people, like playing in people's bands and also working in other scenes, like in the hip hop scene and like in the pop scene a little bit, and watching like fandom and watching people build audiences that like are so cult and loyal to them that it doesn't matter what they'll do, they'll buy it. But it took a long time for them to do it, and just kind of like kind of peeping that from the outside and being like, ooh, this is so interesting. Um, and trying to understand like as someone who does jazz, not necessarily a type of jazz that's very traditional, and like where does it fit, and who am I catering to?
Mm-hmm.
Um or not, I guess not catering to, because I'm just, it's gonna be what I want it to be. But like if we're thinking about like the music's gonna be the music. I think it's more about like venues that you're going to be playing at, or like expectations, like if this venue only presents this kind of music, it's like, will me pitching my band to this venue be the best choice?
Right.
Maybe I could try. Or like brand identity, which is kind of a thing that like in like the people talk about in marketing that people outside of jazz are very tapped into, like I will say that. Or just like, all right, who are you? Even if the music sounds weird, like if your merch looks cool
Yeah.
and you
There might
want
be a bubble.
this type of audience that buys this, that likes this
Yeah.
type of thing, that will buy it because like they want to be tapped into something because of this, then it's like, okay, let me just like tap into what they like. And they may have never heard jazz before, they've never heard my music before, they've never heard of me, but like something I'm selling looks cool, so like maybe they'll listen. So it can go both ways, like they can, but just trying to like be relatable in a sense to the people that you want to follow you.
Yeah.
And I think I'm trying to be more like connect more in different ways to less of people that are like 60 and 70, but more people that are in like my age group, and
Right.
people that I want to follow me, um my generation. I Yeah, so like I'm not necessarily trying to tap into like connect with those audiences, even that I love having people like that in my show. I have people from all ages at my shows, but I'm just when I'm okay, I'm like getting off topic. I don't know if this is something I need to be saying on the internet.
Well, I
Maybe
think I know
edit
what
this
you
part
mean.
out right now.
I totally I relate to what you mean, right? If you play jazz standards, then generally the audience is a little older.
Yeah.
But
Or
I
I guess the
found out,
idea, it's like they want you
yeah,
to market to an older audience. What
yeah.
were you saying? Sorry, you found out that what?
Well, I found out that, I teach at Berkeley and I have all these super young kids and they're really
Mm-hmm.
into my music. They're
Yeah,
like, wow. But they might not find it because I don't have like a PR machine behind me,
right.
right? And maybe that's the whole difference,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
The
I
way
mean,
you
yeah.
present yourself on the internet. I don't take endless selfies because
I
yeah,
mean,
it's tough. You have
I
to just get over it, maybe.
no, for sure. But like also like I learned a lot from sorry, hold on. Phone's going. Okay. I learned a lot from like being around the underground hip hop scene about like
Mm,
how they approach everything outside of the music. Like they're did like the way they do merch is so cool. It's so creative. It's
like, what
so
do they do?
it's sick. Like they did I don't even remember who did this. I want to give them credit, but I don't even remember the name of the band. But my friend, who's a producer who I work with a lot and a good friend, we were hanging out in his house and he showed me this. It's like a box. It was like a wooden box
Mm,
with the album cover. And you open it and there's a CD inside, right? But then it's like, and I think you get some kind of download Bandcamp code with it, right? So you open it, but then the box is supposed to be used for other things after. So then you just have this box. Like you don't not necessarily have a CD player in your house,
right.
but you have a box with the album cover to put your whatever you put in it. And then it's just there. And then it's like, oh, that's really cool. Like it's just like who would have thought? Like
So you
or
can
just
use it for something else instead.
exactly. But it's like,
Yeah.
but then you somebody bought it.
Yes.
Whether they listen to the music or they don't listen to music, like they bought
They
something
might
from
still
you
listen
that
on
you made.
Spotify. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
right.
if it's
Yeah.
laying around in your house, someone's like, "Ooh, cool box," and be like, "Oh, that's this artist merch," or like, um, I don't know, like rolling papers or like stuff like little like useful things, or just like being like, "Yeah, I'm gonna print 100 vinyls and that's it, and
The
I'm gonna sell them at
exclusive.
show like
Yeah.
exclusivity," or yeah, just like little like the designs or like everything's like useful and
Mm,
it's like things that people use and they're creative and it's like it doesn't have to be it's not just like this is some shit with my name on it like it's
right.
this useful this cool thing that looks cool that like I'm gonna wear it looks cool enough for me to wear even if I don't know your band.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna buy it because it fits my style kind of vibe like that's kind of what I've been learning from them. And I'm like, oh, this is like really sick. And doing like collaborations with artists and with people. And
Yeah.
I kind of tried to do that with my last project. And it did work for the most part. Like me and my friend who's this amazing artist, visual artist, animator. Like she does her art is so cool. We've known each other since elementary school. She's like a childhood friend of mine, but she lives in London and she's incredible. And we collaborated
Mhm.
on like she did a little illustration for me for one of my songs and we put it on a t-shirt and on a sweatshirt. And I still to this day I wear the hoodie, the sweatshirt, and people are like, "Oh my God, that's so sick. Where'd you get that?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's my merch." So but it was during the pandemic and it was too expensive to really like it didn't make sense for me at the time to do a bunch of them and sell them and like that project I couldn't really tour with that project, one because it was the pandemic and one because it was like a second two because it was like a 9-piece band, so it only
Right.
fit for really specific things. So like
Mm-hmm.
we did some shows and we did like Brick Jazz Fest and we did a few shows in LA and I did the bucket hats and the shirts and I still have a few left um and people really liked them and you know I don't know I might bring I might do like a new drop a comeback
Yeah. Well, I saw that hat. That's really fun.
That,
But I
yeah.
also like the t-shirt. It says, "This is not a cello."
Oh yeah, I did that in
So
2017.
funny.
Yeah. My It's Not a Cello shirt. I might revamp that too, and just do better design on it. I have like, I guess my toxic trait is thinking I can like teach myself how to do something
Oh, of
and do
course you
it
can.
well. So my new obsession has been with like Adobe Illustrator and like
Cool.
fonts and like flyers and posters and like graphic design. That's like, I've
Nice.
been obsessing over that for a few months now. So I'm like trying to teach myself how to do graphic design. I don't know. Just like sometimes I'll just doom scroll on like graphic design tutorial videos.
Endless fonts.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, no, but to be fair, I did do visual art before I did music,
hmm
to be fair.
So you draw or you paint or
I
what?
draw, paint, photography. I don't draw and paint as much anymore. During the pandemic, I picked up painting again because I had nothing
Mm.
else to do. But when I was younger, when I was a kid, I was very deep into visual art, and in Israel, our schools go from 7th to 12th grade. So, um, I got into art school as a visual
Mm.
artist in 7th grade, and then in 8th grade, I started playing bass, electric bass, and I switched to music. So it's kind of always been a thing that's been,
Right.
and I mean, I did my album cover, my last album cover I made
hmm
myself. It's like I did like a collage and then I scanned it, so it's like a combination of like digital and I guess analog. I don't know. It's like paper art.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think it's really cool. I mean,
thank
all the stuff
you.
will be in the description so people can check it out. So
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's still, I don't have any more physical copies of it, but it's online. You can buy it online.
uh-huh.
I have like maybe two t-shirts and two sweatshirts left from that drop, but I don't know. I had an idea. I might like revamp that project somehow and
Yeah.
re-release it just so I can do another drop of the cage bird sweatshirts because people ask me about them all the time. Um, but yeah, to go back
Yeah.
to that, like, I know the music's good, but like sometimes, you need to draw people in.
Yeah.
If you're trying to draw a type of audience that's not a musician, it's like what makes us choose something,
Mm.
right? If you're thinking outside of music, you're in a store, let's say you're in a skincare, you're in Sephora. Like, what
Yeah.
what makes you like pick something up? So one is like, oh, you've heard about this, right? Someone told you about it. You read about it.
Mm.
You saw it on the internet. You're like, oh, I've seen this before. You pick it up. Two can be like packaging. You're like, oh, this looks, it like
Looks
stands out
cool.
to you. It looks
Yeah.
cool. Is it cool? I don't know. Is it good? But maybe you'll try it because the packaging is cool.
Right.
So I feel like sometimes with music, or like as a musician, I don't approach music that way.
Right.
But if you flip it and you think about it from a non-musician point of view, it's like that's how they think about it.
Right.
Like why would they pick up your thing
Yeah.
out of all the things? So it's like, oh, maybe they've heard about you before. Maybe like the title catches their eye. Maybe the packaging, the cover. Or like they
Right.
saw a cool shirt that you made and they're like, oh, I guess I'll check out their music. Like there's like different ways to come to the music. It doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh, or they saw you on the internet and they thought your personality's fun and you're like, oh, I like her vibe. Like I
Yeah,
like what she
totally.
does. Like
Well,
like
and
she's
also just
funny.
realizing that music is a business as well, right? It's
Unfortunately.
amazing that
It's a
we can
terrible,
put our
terrible idea.
heart in it, but yeah, some we
Terrible business
need.
model.
Yeah,
Terrible business model.
yeah, well, it depends, right? If
But
you
yet we're
look at
here.
Coca-Cola, how much maybe they spend like 20% of their their yearly revenue back into
Yeah.
marketing. Maybe it's even more, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
And I'm
do we
not,
do that? Probably not.
probably not.
We're just spending it on
gear.
us. I mean, hiring musicians, right?
Right.
Yeah, gear. A lot
Well,
of gear.
the amount of music, amount of money we pour into making the music.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm not saying we should spend that amount of money into marketing to take away from making the music. I think making the music should be
First.
the most important thing. But I do think there are more ways to be creative with marketing, or like
Right.
it's like you don't even have to do that much. You don't even have to hire that much. And again, like I'm not like a marketing person. Like I'm not who you should take advice from, but I'm just observing. This is just me
Yeah.
observing the world and other people, and like what's going on,
Yeah.
and how, and like what, and just being online, like being on the internet, and having friends that are like that are in other industries or
Other
whatever,
fields,
you know,
yeah.
or like it's just, this is literally just an observation. Like, please don't take everything I say with a grain of salt.
No worries.
But
Yeah.
like, let me not give marketing advice to people. But I'm just saying, like, some people can get more creative. And I think knowing who you're marketing towards, knowing who you're targeting is like the number one step.
Yeah.
Once you figure out, I don't know, I'm gonna shout them out because I think they're doing a great job. But Solomon and Daniel opened a Solomon Gottfried opened a club called Close Up, and I think what they're doing with marketing, like just the image of the club, the way they're framing the image.
It just opened, right?
It just opened, but like it's on Orchard Street, which is like the new cool spot in the
Yes.
city. And they're marketing to the people that go to Orchard Street. They're marketing to that type of people. And I've been hanging out downtown. I've been hanging out down there a lot during the summer because I don't know. I just needed something to do. And like I just been, you know, I've been exploring Chinatown a lot, and just like been enjoying being in the Lower East Side, and like exploring some of the brands and stores, and just going to like coffee shops around there and chatting with people and like making friends. It's been like that was like my August, was just hanging out by myself and making friends with like random people that would talk to me. It was great. Shout out to my new friends. But anyway, but I'm just like, this is like what they're doing is brilliant. Like
Right.
they everything I just talked about, they're like yes. They picked up it. So it's like the lettering, the logo, the way everything
Yes.
has an identity. Like the whole thing outside of the music. It's like just the branding, the way
Right. They
like
present themselves
the way they're presenting themselves
online.
online, and to a point where like people that pass by or look at it would be like, even if they know nothing about the music, that type of person, like that type of person, the type of person I've been chatting with every day at Lagaz, like when I go down and drink my little coffee and hang out with my little artsy friends, like that type of person is gonna be like, oh, this looks cool, let me go check it out.
Yes.
So I think they kind of like hit the nail on the head with that one, which is and they found their audience in that sense.
Do you have live music every night now?
Yeah, they have live music every night.
Amazing.
I had a great time playing there, and yeah, I mean, again, I don't work there. I don't know very much. I'm sorry if I'm speaking wrongly about anything. I think they're just doing a good job with what they're doing, and I commend them for that.
Nice. Yeah.
So yeah,
I have another question. Let's switch gears a little bit, because
yes,
obviously
please.
my album is with a gazillion of women, because this bar of chocolate comes with women. So I'd love to hear your opinion or your thoughts about, have you faced any being a woman in music? Is it, how do you challenge, overcome them? What's your experience?
I mean, I think just being a woman in life, period.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
That's right.
being a woman in life comes with challenges.
Hmm.
Being a woman, dot dot dot. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know any other reality, unfortunately. So
Mm.
I don't have anything else to compare it to. I have never been a man in jazz. But no, I'm now I'm gonna be serious. Um, yeah, I mean, it's just I kind of am just doing my thing, and yes, there have been challenges. I do notice at times people talk to me differently,
Mm.
or like say certain things, or these little micro things that happen that maybe aren't even like intentional, and it's like people don't even like mean to do them, but they just do them because that's what society has taught us, because we live in a, patriarchal we live in the patriarchy society.
Hmm.
um and it was just wired in our brains, and even as women, I think it's wired in our brains, and it takes a lot to try to unlearn and let go and release it.
Right.
And I try not to focus on it too much, in the sense where, but at the same time, I'm trying to use it to my advantage, right? So, like, I am a woman, that is who I am, it's part of my identity. So, it's going to be, you're going to hear it. You're going to hear it in my music. I'm not gonna, I'm going to treat you the way I treat you because I am a woman. And if you treat me a type of way, and if I pick up on some shit you're gonna do, I'm gonna call you out for it because that's also my personality. Or like, I'm gonna say some shit to you. I'm gonna be like, you do your job and I'll do my job. Like,
Right.
your job is this, my job is this. I don't need you to explain to me how a 1/4 inch cable works. Like, just get me one. Like, great, thank you. I understand. Like, if you can just do what I just said, then that would be great. And if you think I'm mean or rude, that's your problem. Like, don't try to explain to me how to, like, how an octave pedal works, or like how things work, or just silly shit like that. I'm sure you've experienced that in a sound check where it's like they're like, here's a mic, this is a microphone.
This is a microphone.
And you're
Yes.
just like, uh-huh, great. Now but it's also like I kind of know what I'm talking about. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes it takes a few circles for them to like get back to what I said. Um,
Yeah.
I this is like a very sound check specific examples. I just feel like it happens the most in sound checks.
Yeah.
I don't know
Well,
why.
I don't know. Well, me being a female singer,
Mm-hmm.
obviously I'm the singer, right?
Right.
But I can imagine that people might be surprised that you're the bass player,
No, always.
right?
Um,
So that's the hurdle.
and it's fine. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Or I get a lot of like, oh, I don't see a lot of women playing bass, and I'm like, well, now you know. Now you know one. Put it on your list, baby. Let's go. But at the same time, I also, I understand that my position is like, I guess it comes with a certain type of power in that
Right.
sense, where I'm like, people are watching me, so it's always very empowering to to play a show, or to do something, do a master class, and to have little girls come up to you and be like, oh, I didn't know I could do that, or
You're a role
I want to
model.
do that,
Yeah.
or just realizing like, oh, I actually didn't have a lot of role models when I was growing up like that.
Mm.
And to be able to be that for some young women, and I do find myself in like doing like all women camps or like stuff like that, and it is very, using it to empower. And
Mm.
I think everyone just wants to be treated like I at least want to be feel like I'm a musician first, and that the fact that I'm a woman just comes second.
Right.
It's like I don't want to be like tokenized or whatever. And I don't feel like nobody really wants to feel like that.
Yeah.
But then it is important, but at the same time it is like most people just hire their friends, and if you're not in their vicinity, like they might not even think about the fact that their band is all dudes that look the same.
Yeah. Well, it might
Like,
be inconvenient, right? Taking a girl on the road if it's all dudes, right? Extra
is it?
rooms,
I don't know.
maybe all in the bus. I don't know. That I've heard those stories.
Really? I think that's old thinking, because like
Oh, I agree. Yes.
I I know so many men that are very inconvenient, that are they're a lot more like divas than women on the road. Like, come on now. But also like, but like, yeah, yeah, I don't know. But at the same time, like, you don't want to feel, I think everyone just wants to kind of just be treated for like who they are as an artist versus
Right.
like them filling a spot on the diversity list. And that comes with any minority. So,
Yeah.
but I do think it is important to like to be aware of like, are you not hiring, like, maybe this, like, if this person is amazing and their sound fits your vision, and they can play your music super well, and like they
Mm.
do this in an amazing way, it's like, are they not being hired because of their gender or their race or their identity or all of that stuff, or are they not being like why aren't they getting the
Right. Yeah.
opportunity? So it is important, I think, to just like be more aware of like the like who the diversity aspect of like who you have around you and who you're working
Right.
with, without like tokenizing people because somebody said you have to have XYZ.
Right. Yeah.
Which is, I think, everyone's getting better. Or I don't know. Actually, I don't know if everyone's getting better, but I do feel like there is a little bit more of like an awareness and a positivity and like a thing that, we were able to talk about this and break
That's
some
right.
stereotypes, and especially like in like our generation or younger generations and stuff.
Adjusting more.
Yeah, adjusting
these
more,
issues.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
and everyone can hire whoever they want and have their preference. I feel like nobody should be compromising the music ever. That's the one thing. Like, don't ever compromise the music. So,
Yeah.
but it is nice to, and I think I love being on the road with other women. Like, I've also been in the situations I'm on the road a lot when I'm the only woman. It's great too, because I'm with people that I love, and they're great to work with, and it's always nice to have another girl around. But also like it's fine,
Yeah, it's whatever
everything,
happens.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or if it's all women, it's fine too. Like, I guess it's not even about gender or any of that. It's just about like being cool, being a good person, and being someone who's fun to work with and
Yeah.
get along with.
Yeah. Great.
I don't know.
I want to ask you a little bit about your teaching. You've been working with a whole different range of projects all over the place, right? You
Yeah.
taught some kids camps and Stanford, right?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of what's
Yeah,
one of the things that you really emphasize when you're teaching? What's for you one of the most important things as a lesson? Or
okay, I think when I'm teaching outside of like when I'm teaching at a level where it's like they already can kind of play their instrument, I don't know. I came up with teachers that had a the biggest thing they had, like the reason I was excited about it is because they were excited about it. They loved it so much. Like, they were so passionate about it. They gave me all these records. Like, you have to listen to this. It's so good. Like, shit like that. And so I try to bring that to my students when I teach them, and make sure they actually love it and love music, and they're here because they love music and not because some other reason. Because if you love it, you're going to put the work into it.
There you
I
go.
think if it's something you want to do and you love and you're passionate about, you are going to put the work into it.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to, come in and teach them with that energy and kind of meet them where they're at as far as like what they want to do. Like they might love, I don't know, their favorite band might be some fusion band, and I'd be like, all right, cool. So we're gonna do this, and then also do that so that we can combine everything we want to do. And you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
learn from you wanted to do this, we'll do this. And we're also gonna do this, and then we're gonna put a twist on this, and just kind of like, so it's not just me telling them what to do all the time, but it's kind of like
Right.
this is like in combo or whatever, teaching combo. Or, when I do the stuff with Jazz Reach, which is a little bit different, where we like a lot of times it's performance, so we'll go perform an educational program, or sometimes we'll work with jazz bands for like a week and do a residency, work with students, and then it's like a lot more one-on-one time with like rhythm sections and stuff like that. And it's really just like, I think sometimes with those situations, when you're in like a jazz band in a school, just giving the students the attention they need, um, and like just trying to be really precise and concise about like pinpointing things that they can take later on and help them, just like as much information as possible, but in like a very clear way. And sometimes it's just like a little thing that needs to be, and I know like if you're running a jazz band, you're responsible for X amount, however many, 20, 25 kids at once, and
Right.
you have to make you don't have the capacity to like really individually be able to give your attention to every single child all the time. And I mean, a lot of these, for me as a bass player, I know most people that I've met over the years that are in those positions of running jazz bands and big bands, a lot of the times are horn players.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just kind of the nature of the job. A lot of the times, again, I'm not saying that there aren't people that play other instruments and that you can't do that job if you play another instrument. It's just from my experience, most of the time there's some type of horn player or piano player or whatever, and I think bass players and drummers and just rhythm section players in general kind of always are just like
They
they're
don't
just
get
like
as much
figure it
attention.
out. Yeah, they're just like, oh,
Yeah.
there's like four of you, here's the chart, here's a line, you read
You be a
music,
band.
do the thing. I have 15 horn players I have to make sure sound good on this song, like
Yes, they
y'all
be
do
in
your thing.
tune.
So yeah, so sometimes I feel like they kind of like they don't get as much love in those settings, so
Right.
it's cool to be able to give them that one-on-one attention for a few days, and I think it helps a lot.
Yeah.
And just be a role model by doing, like, yeah, you see me doing my thing, like you can do that too. Or I've stayed in touch with some students over the years, and I always find it to be like the young girls too, like they especially in like cities where they don't get to, or like towns or whatever, where they don't get
Smaller.
a
Yeah.
lot of smaller places where they don't get a lot of like traffic and jazz, and you know being able to see people like them, or that they see themselves
Mm.
in, do this on a professional level. So like,
Yeah.
I've been able to stay in touch with some students, and they reach out to me when they need some advice and all that. And I like that kind of relationship within teaching, more of like a mentor role
Mm.
model, which is, I never had like a woman mentor role model growing up.
Yeah.
I had a classical bass teacher who was a woman who was great, and I love her. And I studied with her for a few months, not really classically trained, but I was like, shoot, I was like, okay, I need to. She's the bass teacher. I need to learn with her, and she's amazing, and I love her, and I'm still in touch with her, and she's lovely. But it wasn't like a jazz, like it,
Right.
it was never that kind of relationship. Most of my mentors are older men, and I love them and I appreciate them and everything they do for me and all that. But it's, it's nice to be able to give that to the next generation.
Yeah. Awesome. One more question.
Yeah.
I wrote down, how do you navigate the balance between staying true to your projects or artistic things that you want to do and maybe paying rent and meeting
Oh
commercial?
gosh.
Maybe, I don't know. Do you have gigs that maybe, yeah. How do you balance?
I'm honestly still figuring that out.
Mm,
Um, this year specifically, I kind of was like, I want to really dedicate more time to my thing.
mm,
And be less focused on like the amount of gigs I'm doing for other people, or like be less dedicated to other projects, even that I don't, please still hire me as a sideman, please, 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 please. But like, but just like just putting aside more space for my own thing, and like knowing that there might be a little bit of a financial plunge while doing that. Or like just deciding like, okay, I'm not going to do as much as this. I'm not going to do as much. I'm just going to do this, this, and just like really dedicate, just like really go full force. Like I'm going to do the tour, even if I'm probably going to lose money on the tour, but I'm going to do the tour anyway.
right.
I'm going to do the record. I'm just going to like do it. I'm going to keep the momentum going, as opposed to like, take a different gig, take a sideman gig that pays more money, or like not even a sideman gig, like whatever, a private event gig or some kind of gig,
Right.
or something that I'm doing. Even I'm gonna like take a band leader gig instead, that that I'm maybe paying people out of pocket
Right.
to do, but like, so I kind of just had to take a step back a little bit from a lot of things, um and it's starting to make sense. It's starting to make sense. There was a minute
Right.
where I really didn't I was like, oh God, what is my life? But it is starting to make sense. And I think what I'm learning the most, just like even talking to people about it and like people that are doing it, it's like you really just have to be in it 150% until it pays off. It's kind of like a fake it till you make it thing, where you just have to
Right.
you just have to like do it.
Make
Just
sure you do it.
do
Yeah.
it. Like,
Focus on your own things too.
yeah, like you have to just do it. And I'm just talking to a lot of people who are doing it, or like, and I'm just like, where are y'all at? Like, where's everybody at? Like, how are we doing financially, mentally? Like,
Right.
like, what do we, like, we need to talk to each other and be in a community and have these conversations. And I'm happy that a lot of people are willing to have these conversations with me. And that's
Yeah.
been cool. And I'm still trying to figure it out. Like, I'm trying to work other jobs too, like doing like part-time remote work and stuff like that, just to like have some money to pay my bills. So I at least have that part
Like
of like,
recording projects
no, just
or
like random non-music shit that I can like do, to just to just have something
right.
kind of regular. Or like, I mean, I know a lot of people, and I teach and I do a billion things, and a lot of people do like college, have a college teaching job and do that. And
Yeah.
but it's like between playing on other people's projects and doing my project, and then just
Yeah.
having some kind of other sprinkle of income that can help, at least have my bills covered, so that everything else is just like I can
Yeah.
move through it a little more freely, has been something that I've been doing for the last few months. And it's
Yeah.
interesting. It's actually kind of cool, I will say. I used to think that, I mean, I've been working only at music for making all my money just from like music for the last few years. Um, just
But
playing bass.
physically,
And
it's intense,
it's
right?
intense. It's great, but it's also, I kind of was like, I don't know if this works for me.
Yeah,
Like, to be
maybe,
honest,
yeah.
like
Maybe I
I was
can,
like,
yeah.
this was my goal for a really long time, and now I don't know if this works. Like this model
Right.
of me like just making my money performing and also being so tied to other people's like
Yeah. Well, maybe I should give some insight for the listener, because if you're a bass player in New York and
right.
you're at the level that you are, I think you can play 4 gigs a day,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. And
And
there
that
was a point
means
where I
you
was
have
doing
to
that.
slap that big bass all around from in the subway from gig to gig, and you have to stand up on your feet, which is, you enjoy the gigs most probably,
Yeah.
but it's a lot of energy that you spend, and then it's
Yeah.
late, you play
Right.
till whoever 4
Okay.
4
Well,
a.m. so, right?
let me
It's
put it this way, because
you can only do so much.
so you know how regular people have a job, right? And they go to their
Yes.
job. They go at 9 o'clock, they go do their job, they come home, and then the minute their job is over, work is not a thing. They have a life.
And
But when
television.
they take it, they turn it off, it goes over
Yes.
there. And then, but like for us as artists and as musicians, it's like we never turn it off. It's always work, life, community, art,
Interesting.
community, money. It all intertwines. It's all the same, 24/7. And I mean, when I was getting to a point where it's kind of like when I was doing like 4 or 5 gigs a week, sometimes 3 gigs a day, like I was tired. I didn't feel like I didn't feel like it took away my mental space to be able to like make music as opposed to just show up and do the job.
Right.
Like I kind of got a little bit like tunnel visioned of like, okay, I'm just going. It's like it didn't feel like what it was supposed to feel. And it turned into just work and not, and it's fun work because I get to play music and I get to see my friends, but it's also like you said, it's exhausting. It's like it's physical labor. Like playing the bass for 4 hours is it's not easy. Carrying it up and down the stairs of the subway is not easy. Traveling around the world, getting on a plane,
Yeah.
getting off a plane, going right to sound check, playing a show. And it's like it's great. It feels great for those moments where you play the show. But
Yeah, the show is great.
not sleeping and then like sleeping for an hour and getting on a plane and rushing
Again.
to home, taking a shower, grabbing your shit, going to the gig because and it
You
feels
still have to do
beautiful.
laundry, right? In
And
between.
there's such a
like normal people stuff.
there's a giant pile of laundry over there that has
Oh
not
no.
that needs to be done at some point, which I just haven't had time because I've been running around. But
Yeah.
and it's amazing that you can do that, but it's also like it also kind of turned into this thing where I didn't feel like I had enough control over it because like doesn't matter how good you are, you can be amazing.
Yeah.
And but it's like at the end of the day, if you're freelancing and like you're a sideman, especially just going gig to gig, it's like I don't know who's gonna call or when they're gonna call, and you just kind of have to hope for the best. And
Right. But no, you are so right. And
it's
you
like
have to find that balance and choose your own projects, right? Make sure you have time left and energy left.
yeah, I just was like, I don't have any energy left. I don't have it in me anymore. And I'm like, maybe the money needs to come from somewhere else and not from like running around the city
Yeah.
and the country. Like, and then like being able to take a little bit of a step back and being like, all right, and like pick and choose a little bit more. Be like, I want to do this, I want to do this, and not having to take every like
Right.
$100, $200 gig that you get offered. Um, and just be like, do I want to do this or do I not want to do this? And then it turns into like I'm doing more of what I want to do because I don't have to worry that much about
Basic stability.
basic stability for sure. So
Yeah.
being able to teach like and just like having my value as a person. That's just like something I'm working on. Just like in general, still I think as artists we have a hard time. A lot of people have a hard time with like tying their value as a person to the amount of work they're working to their work and their art. And it's like for other people, work is just work. So like how do we find the balance of like what is work and what is like for your soul? So now I think like having some kind of other thing that's not music or some kind of other source of income, even if it is music or music related. It can be music business or music related, or but not necessarily like playing your instrument and doing
Right.
gigs.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing, or even if it's not music related, it's fun to like learn a new thing. Why not? Go, you want to work at a coffee shop just because you want to learn how to make lattes? Like, go ahead. Like, just for you to have that little thing to keep you, but I don't know. Everybody does what works for them. I'm still trying to figure it out. If you ask me the same question in a month, I might have a different answer for you. Like, literally.
Great. We'll get back
Changes
to
every
you
day.
next month.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Great. Last question. What are you excited about? What's coming up? You already talked a little bit about
Yeah.
your new project, but
Yeah, I mean, the
anything
new
else you want to add?
project is exciting. We're recording. Doing a little tour in November that I need to announce the details for soon.
Mhm.
Doing some projects with some other people, some records and some just, yeah, I honestly haven't really thought that much beyond just the album. I think that's kind of like the biggest thing that I'm dealing with right now. So
Amazing.
gonna record it, gonna tour the band, gonna release it, make some cool stuff to go with it, and just really lean into that. And I'm riding that feeling of excitement, that wave of feeling with excitement, and just focusing my energy into that. And yeah, there's a bunch of other cool stuff happening, and projects that I'm doing with other people that are very cool as well. But yeah, that's the biggest thing for me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being in my podcast, and
Thank you
it's
for
a
having me. This was
pleasure
fun.
to have you.
It's been a while since I did a podcast, so I feel like I had a lot to say.
Perfect.
Ah.
I'm happy you did.
Great. Well, thank you for having me, and thanks for having me on the album.
As I conclude this episode of ViviTalks, I want to express my sincere gratitude for joining me in this musical journey. I hope you enjoyed exploring the stories and experiences of the incredible female musicians on my album. To stay updated on our latest episodes, subscribe to ViviTalks on your favorite podcast platform. Connect with me on social media through Vivienne, and please check out my album Type of Thing, a musical exchange featuring 100 female musicians to empower female cacao farmers of Virunga State Park in Congo. It's about more than just music. It's about making a positive impact in the world. Your support is part of that journey, so thank you once again for tuning in. Until next time, keep celebrating the power of music, and let's continue to amplify the voices of remarkable women in the industry. Stay inspired, stay empowered, and keep the music flowing. With love and gratitude. Till soon.